you so much for being with me on Nation tonight on this Thursday evening. And let's begin with the top story that we have been tracking through the day. And it's all about the big MVA crisis. Now, as Maharashtra government stares at a collapse, Shiv Sena's allies are strongly rallying behind the party, reiterating their support. This comes after Shiv Sena's Sanjay Raut proposed to the party rebels that they will rethink their alliance with the NCP and the Congress. But sources say that Shinde camp wants Shiv Sena to first break away from the MVA, and NCP Supremo Sharad Pawar in all this has now said that floor tests will decide the fate of the government. Now, in a scathing attack, Pawar also said that the BJP-ruled Assam and Gujarat governments are helping actively the rebel MLAs, and he also stood up to what he called Operation Lotus. The Maharashtra Congress chief, Nana Patole, in fact, also dared the rebels, asking them to bring a no-confidence motion first. Now, all this amid rebel Sena leader Shinde's camp getting stronger. He now claims to have the support of 46 MLAs. And we also had Mamata Banerjee holding a press conference wading into this entire crisis, which is to do with Maharashtra. And once again, launching a scathing attack at the BJP and saying that BJP is responsible for getting and fiddling into this entire MVA crisis and they are trying to topple the government.
सरकार माइनॉरिटी में है या नहीं, ये एस्टेब्लिश करने का रास्ता विधानसभा है। विधानसभा में जब फ्लोर टेस्ट हो जाएगी तो पता लगेगा कि ये सरकार मेजॉरिटी में है। बात ऐसी है कि जो लोग वहाँ गए, वहाँ के उनके नेता हैं, उनका कहना है कि वहाँ ये आघाड़ी में हम गए और वहाँ कांग्रेस राष्ट्रवादी इन पार्टी के खिलाफ हमारे मन में एक तरह की नाराज़गी है। ये बात उन्होंने कही, इसीलिए संजय राउत ने जवाब दिया, आपका यही कहना है तो यहाँ आके कहो, हमारे सामने कहो, और आवश्यकता हो तो हम बाहर फिरने के लिए भी तैयार हैं। मगर ये आसाम में बैठकर नहीं, ये यहाँ आकर कहने की उन्होंने स्थिति दिखानी चाहिए। और यही बात कल उद्धव ठाकरे जी ने बताई।
आपण पक्के शिवसैनिक आहात, आपण शिवसैनिक असल्याचं सांगताय, आम्ही शिवसेना सोडणार नाही असं सांगताय, पण आमची भूमिका फक्त सध्याच्या सरकारविषयी आहे। त्या सरकारमधून महाविकास आघाडीतून शिवसेना बाहेर पडायला तयार आहे। तुम्ही ते येण्याची हिंमत दाखवा, समोर उद्धव साहेबांसमोर या आणि भूमिका मांडा। नक्की तुमच्या भूमिकेचा विचार होईल। 24 तासात परत या।
मैं भाजपा को आह्वान करता हूं, अगर महाराष्ट्र में अल्पमत में सरकार आई है तो उन्हें नो कॉन्फिडेंस लाना चाहिए, बात करना चाहिए कि एक्चुअली ईडी का डर बताकर जिस तरह से महाराष्ट्र की सरकार को अस्थिर करने का जो काम बीजेपी सरकार केंद्र के माध्यम से कर रही है, तो उन्हें बताना चाहिए आगे कि नो कॉन्फिडेंस के लिए सरकार तैयार है, पर वो नहीं करेंगी क्योंकि इस महाभारत के मूल वही है और वो राज्य में अस्थिरता बनाकर राज्य की जनता का नुकसान करना चाहती है बीजेपी, और इसी तरह अस्थिरता बनी रहेंगी तो राज्य की जनता का नुकसान होगा।
They have pick and choose this time to topple the Maharashtra government like a unethical matter, unconstitutional attitude. They are distributing that amount of money. Money has no limitation. Is it not howla? One type of, is it not a big scam? Instead of helping the people, why central government is disturbing the Assam government to sell out, to purchase the MLAs and send them to Assam? But what is going on for Maharashtra? It's a shocking.
And joining us on the broadcast are our reporters who are joining me from various parts of the country. Of course, Bombay, Mumbai becomes the center point where all the action is happening. And my colleague Ketan and Sandeep join me from there. Abhishek is joining me from Guwahati, where another set of action is really happening. Ketan, I'll come to you first. There was a press conference that was supposedly slated to happen, which was to be presided over by Uddhav Thackeray. What happened to that?
Well, so there are no signs of Uddhav Thackeray, Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, having or organizing any press conference. He is recuperating from COVID-19. But what changed the course of the day, Griha, is the press conference that NCP Supremo Sharad Pawar held in the evening, where he cleared doubts on many issues. First of all, he asserted that the NCP and the Congress both are steadfast with the MVA government. And despite claims and counterclaims of various numbers thrown at people, he said that the place, as we heard in his bite, that the place to prove a majority is not a neutral venue like Guwahati or Gujarat. It's Maharashtra Assembly, and the place to prove the majority is the floor of the House. So he urged and he reiterated almost on the lines of what Sanjay Raut had said earlier, that if there are any grudges, any misunderstandings, and if the majority of Sena rebel MLAs wish to go away from the MVA, they should come back and they should present themselves in front of the party leadership, and then a decision would be taken. Riya?
All right. And, Abhishek, you are there where the other set of the action is, like I said, Guwahati, where all the rebel MLAs are really holed up at that hotel. Of course, Mamata Banerjee is launching a scathing attack at the BJP, also claiming the flood crisis that the state is currently witnessing. However, what is the word that you're getting from there? 46 is the number that Mr. Shinde is claiming to have.
See, definitely there are many claims by the Shinde camp, but the video that has been come out from inside, where the show of strength was shown, clearly we can count in that there are 42 MLAs, out of which 35 MLAs are of the Shiv Sena, and the magic number is 37. And what we are coming to know from the sources, 2 more MLAs are coming on their way. Dada Bhuse, who is the agriculture minister, as well as Sanjay Rathod, ex-minister from the Sena, are coming up, and they will be adding to the tally, and that will come to 37. But definitely what we're coming to know from the sources that there are back channel talks still continues, and as Sanjay Raut said that they are in touch with many MLAs in the Shinde's camp. So that's the worry, and that's where the problem is. So definitely BJP is, it has engineered the entire fiasco at the moment, and they don't want to make any further steps. As of now, they are telling that the numbers should increase, and that's the reason these all are camping out here and are awaiting. And also, some more defection will happen from the Uddhav camp, and that's the reason they are expecting more MLAs to come, and the figure of Sena MLAs will reach around 40, and that's where they will be in a comfortable situation to avoid anti-defection law. And that's the reason they are camping here, and strategies are being formulated. And the latest offer of Sanjay Raut was clearly rejected, and you can see the confidence of Shinde camp, which is growing by addition of MLAs from the Sena. Back to you.
Right. Abhishek, also a word about Mr. Ravindra Pathak. Is he also there in Guwahati? Because Mr. Pathak was one of the key members of the Shiv Sena who was actually sent to Surat to, mollycoddle all the rebel MLAs and to bring them back. And now eventually it is being learned that he also has moved on to the rebel faction.
See, you will have to understand one point. It's like the majority of the Sena MLA are with the Shinde camp. And remember, we also reported outside from Sena Bhavan, where major protests were happening 2 days ago, where Sada Sarvankar, the MLA from that local area, was present and was that given point criticizing Eknath Shinde, who has come today in the morning and joined the camp. So you can see MLAs also are sensing, you know, where the majority is, they are getting and diverting to that track. So definitely more and more defection is happening, and that you can see is what the name that you talked about definitely is coming here, along with Sanjay Rathod and Dada Bhuse, who's the minister. So definitely numbers are adding to the Shinde camp, and that's where they have an edge over Mahavikas Aghadi. Definitely.
Absolutely. Sandeep, I'll come to you now. Meanwhile, these are visuals that we are playing from that Guwahati, hotel, where there was an ample show of strength by Mr. Eknath Shinde. More and more Shiv Sena MLAs really joining that rebel faction. This is big trouble for the Mahavikas Aghadi, especially Uddhav Thackeray and his Shiv Sena faction that remains. Now, Sandeep, you had been tracking the Congress and the meetings that have gone through and happened through the day. Of course, a very strong statement that came from Mr. Nana Patole also asking for a no confidence motion first. Now, all this amid so many MLAs really jumping ship and moving to the rebel faction.
See, as you rightly mentioned about Nana Patole's stand and Congress Party's stand, I just want to make it clear that Congress, be it Congress Party or be it NCP, no one wants to, lose the power where, in the state of Maharashtra, as it is the most revenue generating state in the country. And this is the only state which is, generating a lot of revenues, and there are ministers in Congress Party who are earning a lot of money. And apart from that, Griha, I just want to make one point in regards to this. Listen into the statement given by Mr. Sharad Pawar, NCP chief. He just cleared that on any stand, we are standing firm with the Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. He has also supported his statement wherein he said that wherein Uddhav Thackeray appealed to all his MLAs, whatever discussions you want to make, whatever demands you want to make, come to Mumbai, sit with me, have an eye contact discussion, and then ask my resignation. I will do whatever you want. But first come to Mumbai. So it could be a strategy from Mahavikas Aghadi. Once these MLAs are back in Mumbai, then, actions can be taken by using our forces, and things can be turned in their favor. And what we have learned from BJP sources, Griha, an important thing that I've learned from BJP sources is that BJP is very much suspicious of the second lot of the Shiv Sena leaders who are there in Guwahati, who are on their way, in fact. So at this point of time, BJP also does not want to take any kind of risk, and hence they are.
All right. Very important point that, Sandeep was there making. We just lost that link, but he has made that very, very important point that even the BJP, which many are claiming it is another Operation Lotus here that is in the pipeline, because remember, both Gujarat and Assam are BJP-ruled states, and this is where the MLAs, the rebel MLA, Shiv Sena MLAs really decided to go to. Ample help there that has been spoken about from the BJP. Now, Sandeep, really they're mentioning that even they are wary of the second lot of MLAs, the Shiv Sena MLAs who are now joining that hotel in Guwahati, because they do not really know which way is this going to swing. I'll come to you, Ketan, now. We began with talking about this this press conference that was held by Sharad Pawar. Of course, very, very strong statements that he made. But earlier in the day, there was a statement that was made by Mr. Sanjay Raut. How does one strongly and steadfastly really stand behind the Uddhav government, where you have Uddhav MLA really going on record and saying that we will think about the alliance with the NCP and the Congress? Despite that, Sharad Pawar taking to the mic and saying that the Congress and the NCP are strongly standing behind Uddhav government.
I remember that after Sanjay Raut made that statement, there was a press conference by a senior NCP leader, Jayant Patil, who is also the state chief of NCP. And he said that we are not really surprised by that comment, and we wouldn't like to react on that comment now. So sometimes during such stressful political situations, Griha, what is said is often not what is meant. So you have to understand between the lines that Sanjay Raut said that if you want to move away from the MVA, then you have to come back and present that in front of the party leadership and Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. In just 2 hours after he makes this statement, Sharad Pawar almost says the same thing, albeit in a different way. He says that we have the numbers and the real test of strength is in the floor of assembly and not in Assam and Gujarat. So the message that MVA, be it NCP, be it Congress, or be it the remainder of MLAs that are with Uddhav Thackeray are making is come to the state, prove your strength on the floor of assembly, because the MLAs, I'm standing in the heart of I'm standing in the Shiv Sena headquarters, and the local MLA has defected and gone to Assam, and his effigies were burnt today. So the MLAs are also wary because they have to go back to their constituencies. They are answerable to their electorates. So it's not as simple as it sounds. Okay. And again, I'll reiterate my cliche, the game is not over till it's over.
All right, very interesting, Ketan. We're also getting to know that Uddhav Thackeray, in fact, will be going to the Sena Bhavan tomorrow. That is the news that we are breaking for our viewers at about 12:30. Any word on that, Ketan? Uddhav Thackeray to be going to the Sena Bhavan tomorrow around noon, and he is, in fact, going to be meeting the party leaders as well.
Well. So Uddhav Thackeray, if he is going to the Sena Bhavan, clearly yesterday when Uddhav Thackeray made an emotional appeal through a Facebook Live, he spoke directly with his Shiv Senics. Because Shiv Sena, as I told you, that it exists on the streets. There have been a lot of defections that this party has seen, and yet this party has dominated the political landscape. It's because of the common Shiv Sainik who is still with Uddhav Thackeray. Despite all these defections, the Shiv Sainik has pledged their alliance, their allegiance with Uddhav Thackeray. So tomorrow, if Uddhav Thackeray is visiting and the Shiv Sena Bhavan, there is an emotional cord between this venue and the Shiv Sainik. So clearly, there have been allegations and the rumor mills are strong that why this thing happened in the first place. It was because of the alleged inaccessibility of the Chief Minister. So Uddhav Thackeray yesterday said that I don't vie for power. He leaves his official residence. He moves to Matoshri. Tomorrow he is meeting face-to-face the common Shiv Sainiks and the party office holders. So clearly he is making it clear that despite the rebel candidates, he knows who his target audience is, and it is the common Shiv Sainiks, and he'll through optics, he'll make it very clear that he's still in charge of the party that was founded by his father and patriarch of the Sena, Bala Saheb Thackeray.
Right. All right. Ketan, Abhishek and Sandeep, thank you so much for joining me with all those details. And like Ketan was mentioning, the game is not over till it actually is. So we'd have to wait and watch for all that political drama that is really erupting from the state of Maharashtra. It is actually a political pot boiler. Every minute there is some new development or the other. Of course, there are things that are emerging from Guwahati where the rebel MLAs are holed up. We're getting all the action from there as well through my colleague Abhishek, who's standing by at the hotel from where we played out those videos for you. Of course, ample show of strength by Eknath Shinde, where he's going ahead and claiming the support of 46 rebel Shiv Sena MLAs. We'd have to wait and watch how this pans out as this entire MVA crisis continues to unfold by every passing hour. All right, let's shift focus now to the state of Tamil Nadu. This is our story number 2 on the broadcast. The AIADMK General Council meet today ended in chaos, and a high-voltage drama was witnessed as party coordinator O Panneerselvam and a few of his supporters staged a walkout. Even water bottles were thrown at them and slogans were raised against them as the walkout really happened. Amid the power tussle between AIADMK Palaniswamy and OPS, the council meet didn't even discuss the 23 resolutions on its agenda as the members stuck to the demand of a unitary leadership. They further decided that any resolution would only be discussed after adopting a resolution over single leadership favoring EPS. Now, let me tell you that out of 2,600 General Council members, 2,190 members signed a letter demanding single leadership in the party. In fact, rejecting all other pre-decided resolutions, and that's why none of those 23 resolutions could really be passed in this meeting. The chaos didn't just happen after the meet, but also before it, as supporters from both sides were seen raising slogans. Also remember that while EPS camp has been pushing for single leadership, OPS wants to maintain a status quo. The next General Council meet would be held on July 11th. Meanwhile, we are also learning that OPS and 4 others will now be travelling to Delhi amid this power game.
What has happened today is totally against democratic principles of AIADMK. We have set principles and rules and regulations. Nothing was followed. There was an agenda and a program. Nothing was followed. He is the treasurer of the party. He was supposed to give the statement of accounts for the year. He was not allowed to give. That was not that agenda was removed, and totally undemocratic ways were done. You would have seen the program of the day. Nothing was followed.
So what are you going to do further, sir? What's it?
Sir, they have convened a general council meeting on 11th. How do you think it
Already my deputy coordinator already said that is not going to happen.
Sir, are you going to file a contempt of court?
No, regarding legal matters, we will contemplate. We have not taken this.
Is OPS being sidelined, sir?
No, he can never, one minute, he can never be sidelined by the AIADMK cadres. He is with the cadres. There is a group of office bearers who think that they can run the party with money. It will never happen. OPS is being supported by lakhs and ordinary members of the party. He will win the race.
My colleague Dharani now joins me on the broadcast for more on this. Dharani, it pretty much looks like decks are clear for single leadership under EPS. However, the interesting thing also here is that OPS will now be travelling to the national capital. Of course, ample deliberations will be on.
Yes. OPS, he would have started to Delhi by flight by now, and 4 or 5 supporters of OPS, they're also going with him, including his son Ravindranath. So even though the OPS camp is telling that they're going for, presidential nomination of the NDA alliance, there is also a possibility of them to meet senior BJP leaders there, because both BJP and AIADMK, they're an alliance in Tamil Nadu. So there's a possibility of the OPS camp to meet senior national BJP leaders over there, regarding the single leadership issue. And there's also some information that the OPS camp is planning to approach the Election Commission or the Supreme Court. So there might be some discussion about that, the national capital over there. But meanwhile, EPS is very well here in Chennai, and he is also connecting meeting with his supporters here in Chennai at the Greenways Road residence. So as you already know, almost 90% of the General Council members and district secretaries, they are right now behind EPS, and they are coming and going to his residence here in Chennai, and he is continuously holding meetings with all these people, and they are from my sources, they are just trying to figure out what the OPS camp is going to do, and then based on that they'll be preparing themselves for what to do further. So this is the information that we have at this point in time. But meanwhile, all eyes are on the Delhi trip of OPS, and his son is also accompanying OPS. His son is a sitting MP, and we'll have to look forward to if there's any meeting, if there's any meeting that's going to happen between the national BJP and OPS. So that's one thing we have to look forward to. And apart from that, tomorrow the EPS camp, they're again planning to hold meetings continuously with with their supporters, and based on EPS's next course of action, we'll see what's going to happen in this case.
Okay. All right. Dharani, thank you so much for joining us with all those details. And with that, I'm slipping into a very short break. But coming up on the other side, we'll tell you all about the 14th BRICS Summit. Welcome back. You're watching Nation Tonight with me, Griha. Now, the leaders of the BRICS group of countries met today amid major shifts in the geopolitical order. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the annual BRICS summit today following an invitation by Chinese President Xi Jinping. Prime Minister Modi addressed the 14th BRICS summit and also said that cooperation among the member nations in several sectors has benefited our citizens. He also added that the BRICS members have a similar approach regarding governance of the global economy, and their mutual cooperation can make a useful contribution when it comes to the global post-COVID recovery. Meanwhile, the Chinese Premier Xi Jinping criticized the abuse of international sanctions, while Russian President Vladimir Putin also hit out at the West for fomenting global crisis. Both Xi Jinping and Putin have called for global cooperation from the BRICS nations.
पिछले वर्षों में हमने ब्रिक्स में कई संस्थागत सुधार किए हैं, जिनसे इस संगठन की प्रभावशीलता बढ़ी है। यह भी प्रसन्नता का विषय है कि हमारे न्यू डेवलपमेंट बैंक की सदस्यता में भी वृद्धि हुई है। ऐसे कई क्षेत्र हैं जहां हमारी आपसी सहयोग से हमारे नागरिकों के जीवन को डायरेक्ट लाभ मिल रहा है, जैसे वैक्सीन R&D सेंटर की स्थापना, कस्टम डिपार्टमेंट्स के बीच समन्वय, साझा सैटेलाइट कंसल्टेशन की व्यवस्थापना, फार्मा प्रोडक्ट्स का पारंपरिक रिकॉग्निशन का आदि। इस तरह के प्रैक्टिकल कदम ब्रिक्स को एक यूनिक अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संगठन बनाते हैं, जिसका फोकस सिर्फ बातचीत तक सीमित नहीं है। ब्रिक्स यूथ समिट्स, ब्रिक्स स्पोर्ट्स और हमारे सिविल सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस और थिंक टैंक्स के बीच संपर्क बढ़ाकर हमने अपना पीपल टू पीपल कांटेक्ट भी मजबूत किया है।
And my colleague Srinjoy Chaudhary is joining me on the broadcast to actually take us through on all that ensued at the BRICS summit. Now, Srinjoy, interesting things happened. Now, while Prime Minister Modi is asking for global cooperation to actually go ahead with this post-COVID recovery for all the member nations, on the other hand, we see China and Russia who are joined together in their argument and asking for that global cooperation in the wake of the summons and, in fact, the sanctions that they are facing.
Well, the important point to note here, Griha, is the fact that Prime Minister Modi had to he had to be very diplomatic, because he is dealing with China, a country that India has not had good relations with in recent times. He is dealing with Russia, a very close friend, but with a country that is involved in war with Ukraine and has really been sanctioned very strongly by the West. So here, Prime Minister really looked at economic recovery post-COVID, and he looks at a way to ensure that all countries in the world recover in a way possible. And how BRICS, and let's not forget, China is the second largest economy, India is a very big economy, as is Russia, as is Brazil, as is South Africa. So if all these countries can get together and help all countries that are involved, that have suffered because of COVID, and if the people's lives can be improved, that's the one thing. The second point, very clearly, wasn't really mentioned. It could well have been mentioned between the leaders when they spoke, was the fact that at this point, there is going to be a huge international food shortage. And at this point, it is important that the world does not face hunger. And this is where Russia can play a very major role. So that point would have also come up in the meeting. But the issue of vaccines, the issue of economic recovery, these are issues that nobody can argue with. Nobody can criticize any leader who speaks about distribution of vaccines, about the economic recovery in the world post-COVID. These are issues that Prime Minister Narendra Modi concentrated on when he gave his opening speech.
Right, Srinjoy, thank you so much for joining me with all those details. And we're getting you some more update. Earlier today, the National Democratic Alliance's presidential candidate, Ms. Draupadi Murmu, also met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the national capital. In fact, Prime Minister Modi took to Twitter and he said that her candidature for the post of president has been appreciated across India by all sections of the society. Now, former Jharkhand Governor Draupadi Murmu also met Vice President Mr. Venkaiah Naidu and Home Minister Amit Shah in Delhi today, as she is here to file the nomination for presidential post. Now, if elected, a glass ceiling might just be shattered in July, as Draupadi Murmu, age 64, will be the first tribal person to be the president of the country. All right, getting you some breaking news updates. Now, more rebel MLAs have arrived in Guwahati. We are going to cut to those visuals very, very soon. We are told that 2 Sena MLAs and 1 MLC has in fact reached the very hotel. All right, those are the visuals. Those are the live visuals that we are playing out on your screens. 2 Sena MLAs and 1 MLC have also now arrived at the Guwahati hotel, where all the rebel MLAs are really holed up. You could see on your screens there meeting and greetings really happening as more and more MLAs arrive. We're being told that 2 MLAs have just about landed, along with 1 MLC in this particular case, and more and more the numbers really swelling as Eknath Shinde is getting more Shiv Sena MLAs by his side to actually stake claim to possibly form an alliance with the BJP now and then form a government along with Devendra Fadnavis. We are bringing you these live visuals, all of this coming in from Guwahati, where the rest of the action is. Remember, half of the action is happening in Maharashtra. The rest of it is in Guwahati, where all the rebel MLAs are holed up. You can see the visuals on your screen. Now, my colleagues are getting me this information. The 2 Sena MLAs and 1 MLC has now reached the Guwahati hotel. Ample meet and greet that has happened. You can also see the earlier visuals that we were playing out where Eknath Shinde had gone ahead and shown ample support by the rebel MLAs. It was his show of strength where you'd seen all the MLAs really assembled together at a hall in the hotel to actually show that to the world that Eknath Shinde does have the support of maximum number of Sena leaders, Sena MLAs, now more joining the pack, and the numbers really swelling by and for the side of Eknath Shinde as he continues to bring more people by his side. We are also getting this information for you earlier that how BJP might just be wary of the second lot of MLAs who are arriving in Guwahati. So we'd have to wait and watch how that pans out, because there is ample distrust also, because BJP doesn't want to leave anything to chance when it comes to forming the government in Maharashtra a second time. Remember, in 2019, it was only for a few days when the MVA alliance really toppled the Devendra Fadnavis government. They really do not want to take any more chances. So we are also being told that the BJP is kind of wary of the second lot of the MLAs who are arriving in Guwahati, because they do not yet know which way are they going to swing in future. Now, I have my colleague Abhishek, who's tracking all those developments from Guwahati at the hotel. Abhishek, more and more MLAs who are joining. We are also being told that now 37 rebel MLAs have joined, Eknath Shinde. So trouble really is mounting there for Uddhav Thackeray.
Yes, definitely, and the second lot which we are pointing out is that lot supported Uddhav Thackeray camp till yesterday. Dada Bhuse, who's a close confidant of Mr. Thackeray and an agriculture minister, is just now arrived along with Sanjay Rathod, who is an ex-minister from the Sena camp. So definitely 35, we have the numbers when it comes to the show of strength video. Adding 2, it comes to 37. And again, I will tell you, Mirror Now news break that Dada Bhuse and Sanjay Rathod will be arriving has turned out to be true. And you saw the visuals. There are clear visuals of both of them entering this hotel and joining the rebel camp. So definitely trouble is mounting on Mahavikas Aghadi when it comes to the number game. And definitely they are into minority at the moment as we speak. Back to you.
Right, Abhishek. Thank you so much for joining us. Abhishek, they're tracking all the developments that are happening. They will continue to, I believe, happen through the night today. We'll have to wait and watch who else really jumps ship and goes ahead and joins the rebel camp, which is supporting Eknath Shinde. And of course, they want an alliance with the BJP. That is amply clear. And of course, there has been conjecture that since these are BJP-ruled states, it's not just Gujarat. Earlier, Surat is where the rebel MLAs really were holed up, and now they've shifted focus to Guwahati. So both these states are BJP-ruled states. We also saw BJP leaders earlier coming into this Guwahati hotel, making it amply clear that this is Operation Lotus 2.0. They are also responsible for actually asking these Shiv Sena MLAs to jump ship and to leave the side of Uddhav Thackeray and come to Eknath Shinde. All right, getting you more breaking news now. In fact, we are told that Anil Parab has now left from the Enforcement Directorate office, and this has happened after 6 hours of questioning. Remember, the Maharashtra Transport Minister appeared before the Enforcement Directorate in Mumbai for the third consecutive day, and this is in connection with the alleged money laundering case against him. My colleague Shivani joins me on the broadcast for more. Shivani, 6 hours of questioning for Anil Parab today.
Well, definitely here, this is the fourth day of questioning that is taking place for Anil Parab. In fact, we are being told that the questioning is yet not over, and Parab will be again in a particular matter of resort simultaneously. This particular moment when there are a lot of political developments are happening, and Pawar has always been a very close aide of Uddhav Thackeray. Wherever Uddhav Thackeray goes, he's there with him. He, in fact, organizes the events. He manages those people. Rajya Sabha, Vidhan Parishad elections were all held and were managed by Anil Parab. And that is why we also saw that for yesterday's summon, Parab had requested Enforcement Directorate officers to provide him some extra hours to come a little late so that he can attend the cabinet meeting and then come. So, as always, Anil Parab has been cooperating with the agency, hence he was given those particular extra hours. But now the agencies are claiming that they need more and more, details to come out from Anil Parab, and that is why his close aides were also being summoned and questioned earlier. And on those basis of their statements, now Anil Parab is being questioned by Enforcement Directorate.
All right, Shivani, thank you so much for joining me with all those details. A fourth day of questioning for Anil Parab and 6 hours of questioning today that he had to go through as far as the Enforcement Directorate is concerned. All right, shifting focus to story number 4 on the broadcast, and this is to do with polling that was held today for bypolls to 3 Lok Sabha and 7 Assembly seats across 5 states and 1 union territory. Now, among the Lok Sabha seats that are up for polls, they are Azamgarh and Rampur in the state of Uttar Pradesh and Sangrur in Punjab. The Assembly seats include Rajendra Nagar in Delhi and Mandar in Jharkhand, also Atmakur in Andhra Pradesh and Agartala, and 3 other seats in Tripura. The counting of votes for all these seats will be on June 26th, and all eyes are now on some high-stakes seat. Let's now shift focus. Trouble seems to be mounting for the Banerjees. After the CBI heat, now Enforcement Directorate has interrogated TMC's National General Secretary Abhishek Banerjee's wife, Rujira Banerjee, in the Bengal coal scam case. Now, ED, which is conducting a parallel investigation along with the CBI in the coal smuggling case in Bengal, quizzed Rujira, and she, in fact, reached the Enforcement Directorate office at about 11 this morning. And let me also tell you that the investigation is linked to a 2020 FIR that was filed by the Central Bureau of Investigation in an alleged multi-crore pilferage scam, according to the ED, in which Abhishek was a beneficiary of illegal funds. However, the 34-year-old MP, who has already been questioned by the Enforcement Directorate in this case in Delhi, has rubbished the charges. Meanwhile, the TMC has warned BJP of protests if harassment by central agencies doesn't stop. However, BJP has denied all these allegations. My colleague Adrija joins me for more on this. Adrija, this particular line of really misusing central agencies is something that the opposition has forever used. And now with, the ED heat also along with the CBI on the Banerjees, this one is only going to grow. Do we see protests in the near future or as early as tomorrow?
Well, as of tomorrow, there are no protests scheduled, but also because there are a lot of other things going on simultaneously. But one thing which we can be definitely sure about is the blame game that has been going on between BJP and TMC. That in fact, TMC has gone ahead and used words like political witch hunting in this case, where they are continuously accusing the BJP to misuse the power that they have in hand. Today also, when Rujira Banerjee came to the ED office, when she was summoned for questioning, she brought her child with her. And in front of the media, she was carrying her child. She went inside with her child. And the questioning went on with her child inside the ED office. We also got news that the questioning in between was interrupted because the child was crying in between somewhere. So, they're just trying, the game is going, the blame game as usual in West Bengal is going on within BJP and TMC. The BJP again, is standing their ground saying that, the right thing is being done because the coal scam, it has been 2 years since the case was filed. So, yeah, I mean, the blame game is still on. She was questioned for more than 6 hours today. The questioning and the entire session was video conference and monitored from Delhi. She has also given a written evidence of all the statements that she has made. So the questioning line was regarding, the fund transfer that has happened from her account. The accounts are in her name. So she was called to ask that, is she aware of the transaction that has happened or not? Back to you.
Rujira, is it going to be the only day that Rujira is going to be questioned, or she has been called again by the ED tomorrow as well?
Again tomorrow. As of now, we don't know will she be called again in the future or not. But ED has summoned Abhishek Banerjee and her a lot of times in the past as well, which Rujira Banerjee have missed all the summons, all the calls that she has got before. Today was the first time she met ED in Kolkata. Abhishek Banerjee has been questioned by the ED in Delhi before this. So we are yet to see if she gets another call or not. As of now, no more calls are scheduled.
All right, Adrija, thank you so much for all those details. Let's quickly now shift focus to another concerning piece of news, and this is pertaining to the growing number of COVID cases. Now, in the wake of a surge in COVID-19 infections in the country in recent weeks, Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia held a high-level meeting today with the core team of experts. Now, in the meeting, he stressed on focusing on districts reporting high case positivity and also to undertake adequate testing with larger percentage of RT-PCR tests. Now, he also directed the officials to increase the pace of vaccination. India so far has recorded about 13,313 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours. And if we look at the daily positivity rate, that in fact thankfully has seen a dip from 3.94% to 2.03%. However, if we look at the states of concern, Maharashtra is one of them. In fact, Maharashtra reported about 5,218 new COVID cases, including 2,479 of those coming from Mumbai alone. And if we look at Delhi, the national capital, in fact, reported 1,934 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours and a positivity rate that has now gone up to a very, very concerning 8.1%. All right, let's take a look at some business-related updates, and this one had every eye on it. Now, Tata Motors' first electric vehicle caught fire earlier this week in Vasai near Mumbai, and the images on your screens were shared rampantly, and this made it go viral on social media, and also putting the fire safety hazards regarding electric vehicles back into the discourse. The company thereby has now been forced to come out with a statement, and they say that they are investigating the matter and will soon be submitting a detailed report.
Over the past few months, we have seen several videos of electric two-wheelers catching fire in India, but there's another viral social media video in which we have seen for the first time ever an electric car in India has caught fire. Well, in this video, a Tata Nexon EV in Mumbai caught fire, and in some time the fire brigade came and they doused the fire. But this once again brings up a big question on the safety of electric vehicles. Well, responding to this one-off incident, Tata Motors has said that they are investigating this thermal incident, and this is literally the first time ever that a Tata electric vehicle has caught fire. And Tata Motors in a statement has said that they're doing a thorough investigation and they're exploring all angles that how this thermal incident took place. And the company in a statement has also said that till now the company has sold over 30,000 electric vehicles, and this has been the one-off incidents that has come that has basically come in front of the company and in front of the public, and the company has reassured everyone that they will be thoroughly investigating the whole matter, and as soon as the investigation is completed they will be coming out with a statement. So all in all, if we see at one point of time when we were seeing a lot of reports of electric two-wheelers catching fire, but for the first time ever an electric car in India has caught fire, the company is doing a thorough investigation, and it is expected that Tata Motors will soon come out with a final report.
And that was my colleague Danish who had brought us that report earlier in the day, which is to do with the safety concerns and the fire safety hazards which are pertaining to electric vehicles now that more and more are being rolled out in the country. Let's shift focus now. The European Union leaders are meeting in Brussels to discuss Ukraine's EU candidacy, which is likely to infuriate Russia further as its forces battle stiff resistance as they try to advance into the embattled eastern Donbas region. The group has voted to grant Ukraine candidate status to join the 27-nation bloc, which is a first step in a long and unpredictable journey towards full membership that could take many years to achieve. Meanwhile, Ukraine said that it is, quote-unquote, waiting for the green light to receive EU candidacy status. Earlier, EU chief visited Ukraine on June 11th and discussed the same with President Volodymyr Zelensky as the Russian war rages on.
First vote on this historic day for Europe. We proceed with this extremely important joint motion for a resolution before this afternoon's European Council, which will decide on the candidate status of Ukraine, the Republic of Moldova and Georgia. We have the joint motion for a resolution by 5 political groups. We start with paragraph 4 in 2 parts. The first part by show of hands. Who's in favour? Who is against? Who abstains? Adopted. Second part by roll call. I open the vote.
In fact, let's break out of this and tell you about the flood situation that remains grim in the state of Assam. Now, 55 lakh people are affected across 32 districts, with the rising Brahmaputra and Barak rivers inundating new areas now. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also said that the central government is closely monitoring the situation in Assam and is working closely with the state government to provide all possible assistance to overcome this big challenge. Army and NDRF teams are present, in fact, in the flood-affected areas. They are conducting evacuation operations and also assisting those who are affected. You can also see the visuals there on your screens that we are bringing to you. The Prime Minister also informed that the Air Force has conducted over 250 sorties as a part of the evacuation process. Let's look at some sports inputs now. Eyeing a fresh start under the new all-format skipper Harmanpreet Kaur, the Indian women team beat Sri Lanka by 34 runs in the first T20 international match. The Indian batters couldn't do wonders. However, the bowlers didn't let Sri Lanka settle down in the chase. Let me tell you, this is the first international assignment for the Indian women's team since the disappointment at the 2022 Women's World Cup. And now for the men, if in fact we're talking about Team India, the men's team, the premier off-spinner R. Ashwin joined the test squad in Leicestershire ahead of the warm-up game after recovering from COVID. But what remains to be seen, though, is whether Ashwin will feature in the 4-day warm-up match. The team is playing the rescheduled one-off test at Edgbaston from July 1st. However, the Indian team is set to play a warm-up match from June 24th to 27th. According to sources, the bowler is still unfit to join the warm-up session. India is set to lock horns with England at Old Trafford on July 1st. And on to some entertainment as we, get the curtains down on Nation Tonight, but not before we talk about the all-favorite Deepika Padukone. And let's first tell you about, if we talk about making all the right moves to ensure that his 30th year in the industry is the biggest ever since his acting debut on June 25th, 1992. Well, we're talking about Shah Rukh Khan here. He, in fact, is doing just that. Now, Shah Rukh Khan kicks off 2023 with Pathaan on January 25th, followed by Jawan on June 3rd, I beg your pardon, and finally Donkey, which is scheduled for Christmas weekend. Now, we are learning that Deepika Padukone, in fact, will be making a brief appearance in his utterly directed, action-packed entertainer Jawan. Now, remember, the film has a formidable star cast of SRK with Nayanthara and Sanaya Malhotra, and also Rana Daggubati along with Sunil Grover. And it's not just Jawan. Deepika Padukone, in fact, is also going to be making a cameo in Brahmastra. Well, yes, you heard that right. She is going to eventually be a part of Ayan Mukherjee universe in part 2 and 3 as the female lead. Remember, SRK is also rumored to be a part of Brahmastra. The superstar, in fact, makes a cameo appearance in the film. And if reports are to be believed, the story heavily relies on his character. So there you have it. We've given you all the dose which is pertaining to Deepika and the all favorite, the Khan of all seasons, Shah Rukh Khan. And with that, I am